Happy New Year, everyone. January 1st, 2025. Welcome. Thanks for showing up this evening. Everyone else is still out partying, I guess. Um, and then welcome to anyone who's tuning in after the fact, not live. You're welcome too. Last month, we began a discussion about the five hindrances in Buddhism. And for today, I propose that we take a break from the hindrances. I want to pick that back up next month. But since it's a new year, I figured it's a great opportunity to talk about wise intention. This time of year is often a time of reflection, of looking back on the previous year, also a time to look ahead, of planning the future, of envisioning the future. So we often set New Year's resolutions, right? I'm going to start exercising every day. Um, January is the busiest month for new gym memberships. There's a spike in gym memberships that goes up like 12% in January. It's called this fresh start effect. And there's a psychological need to make a fresh start after the holidays or when there's a new year or marking in our calendars. And so this can happen at the beginning of a new year or a new month or a new week or even just after a major holiday or a major event. And these landmarks, they're kind of associated with this feeling of a clean slate. So the fresh start effect, it can be very easily tracked by gym membership. So I think it's kind of interesting. The average gym membership increases by 33% at the beginning of a new week. And then the beginning of each month, gym memberships go up by 14%. And at the beginning of the year, about 12%. And then at the beginning of each school semester in the fall, 47%. And so there's something meaningful for us about like creating and marking new beginnings. I like to use this example. Some of us might be making some kind of New Year's resolution like this. I'm going to work out every day, or I'm going to meditate every day, or do something particular in my meditation practice, or do this yoga practice every day, or I'm going to stop smoking, or I'm going to stop drinking, or I'm going to stop eating sugar or chocolate, whatever it is that whatever habit we're trying to change. And so New Year's resolutions can be great and they can be helpful. However, it only makes an impact about 9% of the time, according to research that I found. Um, Research suggests that 9% of the time, Americans, only about 9% of the time, do Americans actually complete their resolutions. So that's kind of grim, right? 91% of the time, they give up or fail. We give up or fail. Um, and in fact, research goes on to show that 23% of people quit their resolution by the end of the first week. And 64% of people quit their resolution by the end of January. And 81% quit before the end of the second year. And according to Strava, which is an app that is used by runners and cyclers that I like to use sometimes for like tracking running or cycling, the second Friday of the month is the very popular time for quitting for some reason. And they call it Quitter's Day. Um, so probably none of this is surprising to you. Many of us have at some point in our lives had some kind of a resolution like this. Oh, I'm going to do this in the new year. Um, and it's probably not surprising because I bet each of us has experienced the quality of these old habits that are hard to change. They can be exquisitely difficult to change. And new habits can be exquisitely difficult to maintain. You might remember the quote that I shared last month um, in the Buddha's words: whatever one frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of the mind. Whatever one frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of the mind. So we related that to our modern understanding of neuroplasticity. And in neuroscience, we have the expression neurons that fire together, wire together. So this is basically the same thing. Um, Modern science reflecting, the same concept that the Buddha was trying to communicate 2,600 years ago. So the more frequently we have repetitive thoughts or repetitive feelings or behaviors, the stronger those neural connections become. And the more likely we are to have the same thoughts or feelings and behaviors again. And on and on and on and over again. This is the cycle. So this can be quite a vicious cycle. Um, but how can we take advantage of this? How can we use this in our favor? And how do we turn this into a virtuous cycle? It can be helpful to focus on the desired internal state rather than the desired behavior or pattern. So, what do I mean by that? At the core of every desired behavior or action is actually a state of consciousness that we're looking for. So, the behavior or pattern is really just a means to an end. Here's an example. So let's take a really common one again in our mainstream culture. I'm going to start exercising again. This year, I'm going to exercise. Great. That's a really good New Year's resolution. Well, we begin a process of inquiry. Why? Why do I want to start exercising? What's my motivation for that? Well, I want to improve my cardiovascular health, of course. Well, why is that so important to me? And that seems like kind of an obvious question. I don't know. It's not that I want to live forever, but I want to increase my health span. I want to increase the quality of my life while I'm alive. Well, why is that important? So we keep asking these questions. Well, I know that when my physical body is healthy, my mind and my heart, my thoughts and emotions are more balanced. So, well, what's so good about that? Well, when my thoughts and emotions are more balanced, I feel more peaceful. I feel more content. Okay, so we've boiled it down to these core states of experience. I'm looking for peace and contentment. So this is a very abbreviated, kind of condensed example. But we keep asking, like, what's underneath that? What's my intention underneath that desire or wish? So this is phase one. So what's the state that I'm actually looking for? And so I'd like to offer another variation of the above scenario. Let's say it all starts out the same. My New Year's resolution is to exercise. Start exercising. I'm gonna exercise every day, the whole year. Great. Well, why do I want to start exercising every day for the whole year? What's my motivation for that? So maybe my motivation is different. Maybe I want to just have a really sexy body, right? I want to look like Brad Pitt in the movie Fight Club. So immediately I have this thought. I begin judging myself. David, that's so stupid. How very unspiritual of you. How could you think something so superficial? And why would you say that out loud? I'm having this conversation, right? Okay, well, let's keep going. Let's find out where it goes. Well, why do you want to have a body like Brad Pitt in the movie Fight Club? Why is that cool? Or why is that desirable for you? Well, um, if I had a sexy body, if I was that sexy, my wife would never leave me. Or maybe I don't have a wife. I do have a wife, but maybe I don't. And maybe I'm trying to like find a partner. And if I was that sexy, it'd be easier for me to find a partner. Well, why is that important to me? Um, well, I want a deep connection with another human being. I had this deep connection with my wife and I want to maintain that. Or maybe I've never had a deep connection and I want that. And I think having a sexy body will give it to me. Um, and I know it sounds silly, but just kind of humor me and keep following the process because we keep going another layer deep into what's the real wish. So there's something in there about connection. I want connection. So, all right, connection, that's pretty good. Connection to another human, that's a pretty core experience or core state. And maybe it's about connection to another being, or maybe it's about connection to myself. But yeah, connection, I'll kind of land at that as the core experience or state of consciousness. And so this is a foundational to our humanness, our human experience is wanting connection. So whatever it is, we kind of boil it down to what is the state. And so this is just phase one. What's the state or experience I'm looking for? So I want to give you permission to say to yourself whatever you want, whatever is true, even if it seems silly. I invite you to let go of any internal judgment and any beliefs about whether it's right or wrong or good or bad or um, wise or unwise. It's all welcome because whatever those thoughts are, it will help us get to something deeper and more essential. So, you could say, I want to make $1 million this year. And it doesn't matter if that's the first thing that comes to your mind or that's your heart's desire, we're going to just use that. I want to make $1 million. Um, and even at the heart of that is some kind of desired behavior or desired state that is pure. And so what we're looking for is those pure states and those pure experiences. And we'll find is we all want the same basic thing. We all have the same basic needs, and we all want safety and love and connection and attunement, contentment or happiness or peace or freedom or liberation. So this invitation is to keep exploring until we arrive at the core of one of these states or the core experience that is underneath what we desire. And so you might say, wait a minute, last time we were talking about desire and how we don't want to stimulate or reinforce desire. And in this context, it's a little different. So on this recent retreat at Spirit Rock, the winter solstice retreat, one of the teachers is my dear friend, Devin Hassa, and she's a really brilliant teacher and mentor of mine. And in one of her Dharma talks, she reminded me of the term Dhammachanda, and it's from the Pali language. Dhamma, which we talked about last time, means truth or the path towards truth or awakening. And chanda means intention. So Dhammachanda is our intention or desire to attain enlightenment or a desire to realize truth or to have loving kindness or compassion or all these kind of divine abodes that we talk about. And these are noble desires. They're perfectly allowed. We're allowed to have that type of a desire. um, and it's encouraged, actually. The Dhammachanda is the fire that motivates our practice, our spiritual practice. It's the fire that keeps us moving towards awakening and towards, opening our hearts and being more loving and generous and more present in the world and all these beautiful things that we're looking for. So when we notice that, when we notice Dhammachanda or the intention for one of these core states, we want to honor that and encourage that. Okay, so now we have this state that we're looking for. But the problem is states of experience or states of consciousness are fleeting. So that's another truth that we've talked about and we've all experienced. The golden question is, how do I turn a state into a trait? How do I make this what I want, or how do I make that more of my personality or more of my habitual experience rather than an occasional fleeting feeling? And so these are the questions that Rick Hanson asks and endeavors to answer in some of his books. I've mentioned him in the past. Rick Hanson is a neuropsychologist and professor at UC Berkeley. And he's also a meditation teacher, and he's a great author. He's written several books, uh, two of them that I have read and really like, Buddha's Brain and Neurodharma. But he has lots of resources out there and lots of meditations and writings and um, yeah, great resource. So according to his research and according to what he teaches, according to neuroscience, this is possible. It's possible to turn a state into a trait. And we can change our brains and therefore change our lives. That's his whole shtick. And that's what he teaches, and it really works, or it can work for us. We can really change our experience in the world in a fundamental way. And it takes time, but it's possible. So I'll give you a little summary of what I've learned from his work. Um, he has a very scientific and fancy term for what we're describing, and he calls it learning. um, learning. So that's what we're doing is we're learning, whether we're learning how to play the piano or learning how to shoot a basketball and have the proper form, or we're learning how to feel more peaceful, um, or learning how to be more generous or more kind. Whatever it is, our brains and our nervous system, our biochemistry, or our musculoskeletal system has to learn how to do it through repetition. And when we're learning a physical activity like playing the piano or playing an instrument or playing basketball or some other physical skill gymnastics, it's called motor learning because there's motor neurons that have to repetitively fire in this very specific orientation that helps us do something. And once we do it right, we try to do it again. And then if we do it again right, then we try to do it a third time right, and on and on. And then we have this neuro pathway for our motor neurons. And with repetition, it gets more and more accessible, and we get better and better at performing that particular task. So the same is true for being happy or being kind or feeling peaceful. The more practice and the more connection we have with our neurons that do kindness and our neurons that do happiness, the more accessible those states become and the more easily we can experience that again. So Rick Hanson calls this tips for learning. And he has 7 tips. There's probably a lot more tips, but these are the 7 that he feels are pretty important. Well, first of all, we have to have the experience in the first place. Like if you're learning how to play a piece of music, you have to play it correctly at least once first. You play it correctly, and then that's your kind of template. And then you play it correctly again. And then the more you play it correctly, the more just ingrained it is in your motor neurons. So the same is true with a spiritual or emotional or psychological experience. We have to have the experience. So once we have the experience that we're desiring, we have to sustain the experience. How can we sustain that experience? Allow it to linger. Number 2 is allow the experience to be intense. Allow it to be intense. And one way to do that is just by paying attention. The more you pay attention, the more intense it can become. Another possibility, or the third tip for learning, is feel it in your body. So if I can bring my attention to my body when I'm having this experience, it's another way to build the complexity of the experience and really reinforce that pattern. So the 4th tip is what he calls novelty. So notice it as if it was new, which it is, since every moment is new. But can I become aware of this moment as if I've never had this moment before? And something about novelty increases and intensifies the experience for us. And it heightens our sensitivity and our awareness. And that makes sense, when you're in a new place or in a new endeavor, everything kind of becomes heightened. And when you get bored in life, or you kind of fall into the monotony that can happen in life, sometimes everything becomes kind of dull, and so it's kind of the opposite of that. It's trying to make novelty in the moment. So the fifth tip is to remember the personal relevance. So again, why is this important to me? Why is it meaningful to me to be happy, or to develop loving kindness? And then number six, intention. So I cultivate the intention to have this experience and to receive the experience. And then the seventh one he talks about is to track or notice what's enjoyable or pleasant. Because when we're noticing something that's pleasant, we're more likely to want to repeat that experience and to kind of create that circuit in our body when it's pleasant. So sustain the experience, allow it to be intense, feel it in your body, create novelty or notice the novelty that's already there. Remember the personal relevance, intention or intend to receive the experience, and then notice or track what's enjoyable. There's many other ways that can facilitate learning, but these are some that have been shown to really help. So if all these things, if we're doing this, um, it's more likely to make an imprint on our brains and our physiology. And just to be clear, this is not a course on how to manifest things in our lives. There's plenty of different courses that we can do that specialize in that, in books and podcasts and different seminars we can attend to manifest how to attract the love of our life, or how to attract wealth and get rich, or how to become powerful and influence people. So it's not about that. It's not about manifesting anything in our external reality, because all the events, all the phenomenon in our material world, it may or may not happen for us in the way that we want. And we might have some control over that. And there's a lot that we don't have control over in the external world. All the circumstances and phenomenon that we desire on a superficial level, they may or may not be attainable, right? Um, but what is attainable are these core experiences of consciousness. We can connect with them right now if we're having a good day. Um, and I would venture to say that all the states that we're looking for in our consciousness, we all have tasted before. We all kind of know what that's like, even if it's a distant memory, even if we haven't had it in a while. It's like we've tasted that. And maybe even there's some part of our being that it's innate to know what that feels like. So with this in mind, I'd like to do a little practice together. So I invite you to make yourselves comfortable. You can sit up straight if you like to sit up straight. You're welcome to recline if you want to recline. You can lie down, you can stand up. You can do a little walking meditation with this. Find some way to be at ease. The recommendation is often to have an erect spine. But really what's important is that you're relaxed and also attentive. So it's not about the particular posture itself. It's about how can I be both awake and relaxed, or attentive and soft. You're invited to turn your screen off if you prefer. You can leave your screen on. You can close your eyes if you wish. It feels good to have your eyes closed in meditation. You're invited to leave your eyes half open with a soft gaze on the floor in front of you. And the invitation is to connect with your anchor. So choose either your body to pay attention to throughout the session, or your breath. You can focus on your breath, or you might focus on the experience of sound. One of those three are usually the recommended anchors. So it can be really helpful to choose one and stick with that. So whatever happens, we're going to sit here for maybe 15 or 20 minutes together. Whatever happens in the next 15 or 20 minutes, I always come back to my anchor when I become aware. I have a thought or a feeling, or I get distracted, and then I notice myself getting distracted, and I come back. And I include my anchor in my experience. So I come back to my body or physical sensations. Or I come back to the experience of breathing. Or I might come back to the experience of sound, noticing the sounds in the room. I invite you for a moment to just connect with your anchor. What is it like? How is it for you to just be here breathing? To breathe and know that you're breathing. Or to sit and know that you're sitting. To hear and know that you're hearing. And I come back to my anchor again and again. Now we begin a little inquiry now that we're here, a little more embodied. Question is, what is your heart's desire? What do you want for yourself for this year or for your life? What do you really want? And I want to invite you to really just be free with yourself. Don't worry if it doesn't sound like Dhammachanda right away, if it doesn't sound like a righteous desire or noble desire, we'll get there. So whatever it is, you want to paint every day, or you want to meditate, or you want to work out so you look sexy like Brad Pitt, or you want $1 million, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, just let that be what comes to you. What do you really want? Really? So now the next question, why is that important to you? Why would that be meaningful? Or how would that impact your life? Why is that important to you? So then, whatever the answer is, you ask it again. Well, why is that important? And again, why is that important to you? And I'll give you some space here to explore. But I invite you to keep exploring, keep asking why, keep asking the what's underneath that until you get to the core experience or the core state. What's the state that you're really after? Liberation, peace, joy, connection. What is it that you're really wanting for yourself? Once you arrive at a core experience or core state, can you feel that? Can you connect with that now? And if you're not feeling it in your body, can you remember what that feels like? Do you have a memory of what it was like to feel love or connection or peace or whatever it is that you're calling in? So that can help to recall the memory. And as a third option, if neither one of those is available to you, then that's okay too. So then I invite you to notice what it's like to not have that in this moment. So that's okay too. And the idea is to begin exploring this experience. So phase one is have the experience, or phase one is kind of boil down to the core desire that we're actually looking for, and then have the experience. And now we move into phase two. So, how would it be to really sustain this experience? What does that mean to really let it be here? Make space for the feeling. Can I be with this? Can I allow this to be present? And as I sustain this experience and allow it to be here, how would it be to allow the experience to be intense? Pay attention so the experience becomes more intense and more present, even. What is that like? And here's an invitation. If it feels okay to do this, notice your body right now. How does it feel in your body? If your anchor was your breath, you might notice how your breath feels in this experience. If your anchor is your body, you might notice physical sensations. What is the physical sensation of this state? Or if hearing is your anchor, then what is it like to hear while you're in this state? Can I open to the possibility that we've never done this before? I've never done this before. I've never had this experience in this way, just like this. It's new. Sure, it might be similar to past experiences, but this is a new moment. Can I really appreciate that the newness of this moment? Now, it can be helpful to remind myself why this is important to me, the personal relevance here. Why am I after liberation or peace or joy or safety? Why do I want these things? Can I reconnect with my personal relevance? Now I bring in an added layer of intention. We're already doing this in a very intentional way, but I'm increasing my intentionality. I'm really intending to receive this experience. I really want to be here. It's really important to me. I really want to be here in this moment. So I intend. I intend to be here. I intend to receive this experience. And now, is there anything pleasant or enjoyable about this experience? If so, it's helpful to notice it and track it. Can I notice what's enjoyable here? I appreciate the fact that I get to have pleasantness. That's nice. I can feel this pleasantness or this enjoyable feeling. When you're ready, I invite you to begin to bring some movement into your fingers and toes. And wiggle your body or stretch if you'd like. Begin to come back into your room or your physical space. And when you're ready, you can come back into our virtual room if you wish. Thank you for practicing with me, practicing together. So now I want to, just open it up for reflections or questions. How was that for you? What did you notice? Is there anything meaningful or challenging or interesting? Please.
So I had started with something I thought was a little more on the abstract already. My intention for this year was playfulness and freedom. And then I wasn't really sure how I would actually get those things. So I didn't
Mhm.
have an actual good action. But then I still used that to ask the questions to go deeper and deeper and see if there was actually a deeper core in that.
Yeah.
And I came to like really actually wanting to know like myself in that bigger, cosmic sense. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I already thought
Mm.
it was in the core concept. So it was still great to kind of like just go through that and then to have this practice where we got to just kind of see if that experience is something that we can tap into without some sort of specific action. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Beautiful. First of all, can you say your name?
Oh yeah, Siri Sundarta.
Siri
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 Sundarta.
Sundarta. Okay. Siri Sundarta. Thank you. Um, yeah, what you mentioned is really wise. A lot of times, the first thing that we state as our desired state seems like a core experience. Like you said, playfulness and freedom, like, well, freedom is pretty essential, right? So you might think you've arrived at the thing, and then often we can keep exploring deeper, and then there's like other layers, and then another layer, and then more layers, and kind of get to something that's even more true. And for you, you kind of arrived at this thing of knowing yourself. Is that the words that you used?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
self with a capital S kind of
right,
concept.
right. Knowing self with a capital S. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. So that's a pretty, pretty core experience. And um, when I first was introduced to this practice, I got a little fixated on wanting to achieve that thing because it's kind of tempting. It's like we're setting ourselves up for like um, getting a little attached to the outcome. When we ask these deep questions, it's like, wow, is it okay to ask this? Because what if I don't get it? Then I'm going to be disappointed. Um, and really, the practice is not even about that. It's just about kind of coming into this moment and can I use this as an opportunity to be present and be, in this experience? And then, usually in that state, the true uh, core experiences are available to us. But it's not, on the surface and the way that it plays out in our life, it might be totally different than what we want or expect. Yeah. Also, I want to mention you asked a beautiful question last month in our last session. And if I confess, when I do these sessions, they're recorded, and I've told Katie this in the past. I just press save and then I post it online. I don't edit it. I don't even look at it because I still find it kind of weird to like listen to my own voice. um, but this particular one, I was remembering your question and feeling a little uneasy about how I answered it, and so I did listen back to that conversation, and I confirmed that I did not answer your question. I kind of went off in a different tangent, and I realized that I wasn't really getting you in that moment. And so first, I just wanted to apologize, and um, we can kind of revisit that another time if you wish. But just wanted to acknowledge that I kind of took it in a total different tangent.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Any other thoughts or reflections for today? Have a
I've been
some
going to a place of emptiness this week. Um, it's like I've been getting out of the way a lot. I don't quite know how to describe that. Um, but it's like it's I feel myself just merging with the all that is or whatever. And that sounds like it's Um, that sounds like it's um, more significant than it is. It's like it's a pretty natural process. It doesn't feel like it's exceptional in any way. It's um, just like becoming part of the ether, becoming part of the air. Um, And so that was happening tonight in the meditation. And uh, I kept um, I kept wanting to firm love. It just kept, and I try to go deeper and I just keep getting love, love. I couldn't quite unpack love. It just seemed like, that was that's what it was. It was just love. And about the only thing uh, more that I got is that it was not only about loving other people and being nice to customer service people over the phone. It was, it was about loving myself too. And so anyway, I was a great meditation. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it sounds lovely. Is it okay to allow yourself to feel that opening to love and kind of merging with everything? Is that like, how is
Em-
that for you?
Emerging with everything, it feels just very natural. Um,
Hmm.
the love part, it's like uh, um, it's like I feel it, but it doesn't. It feels like I need to go deeper with it somehow. Like I'm not totally at one with it somehow.
Mm.
Yeah,
Sounds like a lovely place to stay in inquiry and to keep exploring.
exactly. Yeah, it's a longing more than the feeling of the love. It's the longing for the love.
Mm.
Love of God. Anyway, so
Beautiful. Thank you.
yeah.
When you were talking, I was reminded of Suzuki Roshi in his book Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. There's a chapter called Nothing Special,
Oh,
and his whole um, point that he's trying to get across is enlightenment is nothing special. Like once you get there, it's actually like, oh, this is just a natural state. And so it sounds like you were experiencing that, merging and also the kind of naturalness of it. And it's beautiful.
yeah. Well, it definitely doesn't feel like I was enlightened or anything, but it's like the universe was kind of giving me a little tiny taste of it. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
good to get a taste.
Oh yeah.
Thank you all for being here. Anyone else? Great. Well, yeah, pleasure to start the year with all of you and to start it with such a intentional practice. And yeah, wishing you all happiness and grace and all the things that you desire with your big heart, so it all comes to you in the Dhammachanda form of desire. Thank you.